Hey traders, this is Cousin Benny coming to you on Mother's Day the 13th of May at 9 p.m. where futures are currently trading higher off the open at 6 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to go over a few things that I'm looking at. I'm currently pretty much all cash with a few small positions that I've been trading swing longs. Okay, I have one short going into this week. Looking at the closing ES chart from last week, we can see that we're trading right about where we closed at, 1350. Okay, I'm looking at the 150 period smoothing average because that's what I like to watch in terms of longer term trends. We can see that we're continuing to move higher and the RSI is pointing upward. Okay, I'm presently looking at a few things in terms of support levels. And looking at this high down to the current low that we put in, I'm looking for bounce areas of 1378.21 thereabouts. Okay. Now conversely, if we continue to move lower and we break this low here, I'm looking at the 127 extension at 1350, where a number of traders that I follow are looking at as well, which is close to the 150 period moving average. Okay. So if you look at the spider sectors, that gives you a better clue as to why we could see a little bit further move down. We can also see where we had our October 4th low, okay, that we're coming up very close to the same area, okay. And also pointed out that I was looking at this as a possible trend channel down, okay, where we had this situation here and a possible move back up to this area, which would line up with the fibs that I was showing before. Okay. We can see that upper trend line is very close to the 618 and 50% retracement levels. Okay, so this is a possible area for a move back up. All right, this area here. All right, so keep that in mind. However, if we look at the sector spiders, this is the thing that I'm looking at closely. Okay. If we go down through the list, the consumer discretionary, all right, now this is something that Carter Worth pointed out. Thanks to Gas for pointing out that as well in an email that he sent me. The 150 period average is considerably below price, okay, and we are below the 50 period moving average, so we could see some move down to make this more of a viable area. If we look at XLP, all right, consumer staples, we can see that we're holding the 50 period and the 150 is down here, okay, and stochastics looks like it wants to turn. XLE, we can see this looks pretty ugly. We've lost the 150, all right, and the 50 is rolled over. Most of our averages are moving lower, but we are oversold. Okay, so we are due for a little bit of a bounce. XLF, of course, JP Morgan helped us out last week. We're looking at this 150 period moving average as a possible buy area. Okay, and we are oversold, so there's a possibility we could get a bounce this week. Looking at the possibility of the channel. All right. It works with the ES as well, depending on what happens this week. All right, if we see further weakness. XLV, we can see we're just about to lose the 50-period moving average, the healthcare sector. All right, the shorter term 10-period moving average we lost, obviously 20-period, the middle line here. And depending on what happens here, we had a couple of situations last week where sellers took control, buyers lost their conviction, and we moved lower, but we did close right on the 50-period moving average. Okay, and we are oversold. XLI. Okay, we can see that the 50-period is right below us. The industrials, the 150 rather. Okay, and we are oversold. So watch the industrial sector. XLK. Technology. We have a little bit further way to go. If we look at this as a trend line here and a possible channel down. Okay, we see where our possible targets are. Okay, and of course here as well. All right, XLB has some potential. We're right at the 150 period. We did lose it somewhat last week, but we're oversold. And if we look at the MACD, you can see that we're headed down as well. So this looks pretty weak. We were looking fairly strong last week. Telecommunications look pretty strong actually. And if we look at AT&T, you can see where that strength came from. We had this breakout, all right, at 52-week highs. If we look at Verizon, see the same thing. Okay, breakout. Sprint, I believe, had better than expected numbers. So teles are looking pretty decent. All right, it looks like we based here, and we may move a little higher. Okay, if we look at the daily on Ichimoku, we've got the cloud overhead, so keep that in mind. All right, and XLU, of course, the last sector that I'm keeping an eye on, which is doing fairly well. We see the highs that we had in here, but we are overbought. Okay. By the way, the reason why my voice is somewhat subdued is because everybody in our house had the flu this week. My son had 104.5. My wife has 104. Hers is down to 103. My daughter was 102, and I had 101.5. So I'm feeling a little better now, but I'm just trying to keep it down so those guys can get some needed rest. Okay, so going back to the ES chart, we see our targets. We see the possibility of this channel playing out. Okay, or we use the closing candles here. We have this possible wedge pattern. Okay, so keep an eye on these fibs here, the 50 and the 618. All right, at 1379 and 1389, and also if we break down below these lows that we put in on Wednesday, we could see the 127 extension and come down to this 150 period moving average. I'll be watching the relative strength as well on this to continue higher. All right, but I'm looking for further weakness currently. I'm positioned such that I'm pretty much in cash. So as I mentioned earlier on, we have this situation here where we had to move down. Okay, we had to move back up. And see off this low here, that brings us right back up to that wedge trend line. Okay, So that's just some of the things I'm looking at. I have targets. It's best to go into the week with an idea of what you expect. Alright, have a trading plan, trade accordingly, make sure you use your stops, and don't try to be brave this week. Let's just see how things plan out, okay? How things manage to adjust to the conditions that we're in. Alright, and be smart traders. Okay guys, take care. We'll talk to you soon. And I'll see you in the room. Take care.